Hey, Letty,
Yeah, Kelly.
remember that time you had that crazy relationship?
Good morning.
Good morning. Hi, how are you?
I'm all right. Slept 6 hours and 6 minutes. Oh, hi, puppy.
I didn't sleep good last night either, but menopause.
I slept all right. I don't remember waking up as much as I usually do.
Yeah, good for you.
Good for me, la di da.
That's not my MO at night, but
I did drag myself out of bed, but I'm pretty good. I got a full coffee in, got my medications going, and
let's do this.
I'm feeling super focused.
Perfect. Relationships. When I was asking you, in the intro about what was, you remember when you had that crazy relationship. I mean, I think we're seeing relationships as in love relationships, but also friendships as well.
Welcome to WTH ADHD.
Oh, right. There's that.
I'm Letty.
And I'm Kelly.
Because that's
WTH ADHD.
That's what you're listening to. Relationships. So relationships are definitely a different ballgame for people who have ADHD. And I think really that undiagnosed ADHD can really complicate whether you're recognizing the things that are contributing to that versus having the ADHD complicating a relationship when it's not recognized that those are some of the things that can impact it, such as the impulsivity, the hyperfocus, time blindness, all these executive function components impact how we behave in relationships, how we respond to others, and how we maintain relationships too.
It's tough.
Yeah. And we talked a little bit about how you and I operate very differently in relationships where, I'm a ADHD type C. So I'm both a little bit inattentive and also hyper, and those present in different ways, where you're type I, which is inattentive, and you have more anxiety that comes into your relationships. And so while, I ran through just so many hyper-focused, impulsive relationships that were quick, huge bursts in friendships and romance, you tend to be very cautious in your relationship.
Yeah, I didn't have my first relationship till I was in college. And boy, I loved boys.
But how did you get your dopamine if you weren't in relationships?
I don't know. I was really scared.
Did you have really close friends or how?
Oh, tons of close friends.
Tons. How many?
Tons. I mean, in high school, there was, once I finally found my group in high school, which was probably 10th grade, there was, I want to say the girls were seven girls. And then there was probably 5 guys.
That's
in this
a big group.
It was a big group. So I was in love with every boy on the earth, but I didn't necessarily have to do anything about it because I had all these friends.
I did. I definitely.
And I was too scared. Too scared. Every almost relationship I ever had, I freaked out and didn't do it.
I was the sparkly and new. Oh, I want that. What about middle school? Let's rewind a little bit. How about friendships in middle school? Did you have?
No, middle school was horrible. I was horribly.
Were you alone? Did you have a person? How did you?
I was bullied and didn't have. I had friends in 6th grade. Then those friends bullied me in 7th grade, all through 7th grade. So I didn't have anybody. And then in 8th grade, I found a new set of friends in 8th grade. But I was horribly bullied. So that really just kind of fucked me up,
Yeah.
basically.
I had a really close friend in first grade through third grade. And then, we escaped communism, went to Germany, like dropped to zero friends. I didn't speak German or anything like that. And I didn't know what I was doing.
Hmm. I'm sure.
I think I had like a neighbor boy who was like 4 years younger than me, and I was 9. So,
Hmm.
that was about it, who I'd occasionally built things with because I think he was Polish. So we certainly didn't speak any common language together. And then when I came here, my first introduction to people was rather cruel because I didn't speak English. And then there's this group of girls I met on the block. They're like, "Oh, we'll teach you English." And they'd be like, "All right, here's the alphabet. Say it." And then every time I get it wrong, they punch me really
What?
hard. Or this one girl's like, like pantomiming. They wanted to see my earring. So I gave them my earring and they ran into the bathroom and they threw it in the bathtub. So I go to like get it and they poured orange juice on my head and they're like, "That's too poor."
Holy shit.
I learned English so fast, Kelly. I learned English really fast. But that was definitely like, I couldn't really make friendships well, partly because of communication. And I really wanted friendships, right? Like,
Yeah, of course.
I'm very outgoing.
Yes, you
I,
are.
I, I am the room,
Yes,
right?
yes, you are.
I am the party. Let's make a party
Yes,
wherever we
yes.
are. I made friends with this Chilean guy that we would walk to school with in sixth grade for a minute, like nothing close. Neighbor
Uh-huh.
who now I look back, her family was a hoarder because they had like one path through the entire house and there was
Good Lord.
newspapers up.
Ugh.
And then I transferred schools and then transferred schools. I got into the magnet and then I went into eighth grade. And there I met like a total outcast
Perfect.
person
Honestly,
who
that's who
was
you mean.
reserved and quiet and,
Uh,
yin and yang, but great sense of humor. And humor has always been a huge draw for me.
uh,
And we became, really close friends. And then we added one more. And it was like the four of us who kind of became friends through that ninth grade, going into
mhm.
10th grade. And that we went to different schools, some of us, but two of us kind of stayed together. And then we'd keep coming together for friendship things. And that was great. But all my friends were quiet, introverts,
So
like
not you.
reading books
My
on the
God.
lawn, like not making eye contact. One of my best friends like couldn't even laugh out loud. She'd laugh through her nose. So I like taught her to
That's
laugh through her
so
mouth.
crazy.
But I was the driver, right? And
Hmm.
and I was the fun. And it gave me such thrill to make people laugh.
Hmm.
That class clown,
Hmm.
right? And you'll
Hmm.
see that with boys with ADHD, right? There'll be that class clown that just like do all these crazy things.
Right.
And in classrooms, I was pretty chill because there my inattentiveness came out and I just like drift off,
I was too
look out
scared
the
in
window.
class. Yeah. I would never do anything bad.
Can I tell you my inattentive moment in class where I almost got the crap beat out of me?
What happened?
So, my math class in seventh grade was held in like a shop room. So, there were tables put out in long rows,
Uh-huh.
and you face forward in the chair and you're looking at the teacher. Me, I'm turned backwards, leaning on the table behind me and staring out at the shop machinery. I'm looking at the machinery because it's way more interesting than the math. So I'm sitting in this classroom and the tables are long. And instead of facing forward, I'm facing backwards and I'm leaning on the table behind me and I'm looking at all the machinery because that's way more interesting than the math that I had already taken like years ago in Hungary, like
Of
whatever.
course.
And I wasn't interested. And I was leaning on my palm, staring with my mouth slightly open, I guess. And there was this girl who had been like the school bully, and someone had told her as she's talking through class, "Shut up." And she made eye contact with me and thought that I had said it because I was staring through her.
Oh,
And she
shit.
looked at me and she mouthed, "I'm going to kick your ass." and pointed at me. She's like, after class. It was like a classic 80s movie.
Uh-huh.
So I'm like, oh no, oh no. Now I'm like sweating through the entire class,
Holy
right? And
crap.
I'm watching the teacher and I'm petrified. I'm turned forward and I like turn back. I'm like, I didn't say anything. She's like, I'm going to kill you. I was so
Holy.
scared. And she had like 2 friends with her in that class too. So I was like, oh my God. So class is over. I'm like, okay, I'm going to leave with the teacher. Right. I'm going to stick
Like,
to them like
or I'm
glue.
just going to stay with the teacher.
Yeah. I'm just, and the problem with that class is that there's a door going back through the shop and then one into the hallway. And I'm watching people leave and I'm watching the teacher and I turned and then the teacher was gone.
Oh, geez.
I didn't know which door they went through. So I'm like, okay, I'm just going to go the hallway route because there's probably kids there, you know, instead of like on the quad when you're like getting your butt kicked on the quad. Wrong. There were no kids in the hallway except her and her 2 friends.
Oh, no.
And they're just like, why you got to tell me to shut up? All this. And she's shoving me into the lockers and all. Oh my God, she beat my ass. I mean, I finally got out of there, but that's like the trouble you can get into being inattentive too. It's not just about being hyper and crazy.
And when you have like shitty kids in your school that are bullies and beat
I
people
don't know.
up, and
I was just
hopefully, yeah.
different. You know, I wore corduroy pants when it was past that. I had an accent. Like, who cares, right?
Mm-hmm.
But once I started making these friendships, you know, I felt a little better, but I was definitely the crazy, bouncy friend leading these adventures. And we'd go hiking and get lost and we'd do all these stupid things. And that impulsivity just drove me, right? Like it was just full dopamine seeking constantly. A lot of laughs, but also like not thinking about consequences or anything like that, or whether I was pulling those poor friends of mine into spaces that made them feel really uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
So, and your ginormous group of friends, what do you guys, were you guys Veneers?
You know what's
like,
so
how are you so big?
Because we were all theater kids.
Mm.
So it was all the theater friends. We all just hung out. That was our thing.
I went to a theater fine arts magnet and I hung out with the math magnet people.
It was a big group. It definitely wasn't a great functioning group. I will definitely say that.
Why?
Some girls had issues with each other's, but I think we were so young that most of us just look past it. That, you know, the sad thing is I don't talk to any of them now. I'm friends with them on Facebook and I get to see things, but that's okay. Like that doesn't bother me. That part doesn't bother me at all. When I went to college, that was really hard because I didn't have any friends at first because all my friends left. All my friends went away to college and I stayed here and went to a local college and had a really, really, really rough first year, upset, you know, yada, yada. So second year, I joined a sorority.
Oh my God.
To meet friends. That's a problem for someone with ADHD. There's way too many cooks in the kitchen. And I had a huge, now that we're actually talking about it and I can look back on it.
Say, like, how do you see it now through the lens of ADHD?
So hard.
What was hard about it?
Because there was so many girls and you had to try so hard to be this person, to be accepted into this group.
Isn't that like a general sorority problem though? Like not.
Yeah, but I think for someone who has ADHD, you overdo it, make them like you. And then when you have to do all this shit after, like go to meetings and stuff, like what?
Did you like the meetings?
Oh my God, you have to go dress up for meetings on campus. It became a chore to me. To other people, they freaking loved it.
See, I get that. I loved it, but I do know that if you're more introverted.
Yes.
And I've heard people with ADHD talk about how social situations are really difficult.
So hard.
Because they're so overstimulating.
Yes,
right?
It's too hard.
For me, it's like a dopamine draw. It's like, I just sip it up. It's so delicious. But I know for some people, all that noise and planning, even just the plan for it, because you have
a lot.
make that decision of what you're going to wear, what that's going to look like. And you're measuring all these things in your mind. And that planning becomes so overwhelming that executive function kicks in and your brain's just like, nope, not going to go.
That's the problem. I mean, well, how I solved it for a little bit was I got a boyfriend
Boyfriends solve everything.
so I got a boyfriend, my first boyfriend, and I had one friend who was crazy like me. Like I'm an independent crazy. If I'm one-on-one, two-on-two, or you know what I mean? Like in a small group, I can be bananas, right? So Buffy and I would be bananas, and she was the yin to my yang, and we would be crazy together. So I had one person who I could really just be me with, and then everybody else around us would think we were so funny, but we were just enjoying
Now,
each other.
were you vibing like ADHD vibe? Do you think they were also
I don't know if
neurodivergent?
I don't know if she is it.
Because when I look back on my
Yeah.
relationships with my friends, one of them was on meds.
Yeah. We were seeking it from each other, I think.
Like we
for
got
a
each
moment.
other. I think we were able to forgive each other
Mhm.
and understood that need and
Mhm.
didn't think it was so crazy.
Mhm.
We didn't think we were crazy.
Mm-mm.
Everyone else on the outside thought we were bananas.
Yeah. But if I had one other person or two other people, I became that person that you are all the time, and people loved it.
Yeah, you
But then
do.
I would get just like so exhausted from it. I need like 2 weeks off, you know?
Yeah, you do like draw on that energy
Mhm.
and then you have this drop off where you just out and you can't anymore.
And that doesn't work well with sororities. Doesn't work well. And then also, thankfully or not thankfully, well, the earthquake happened, and
sucked, man. That was awful.
yeah, it was bad. But I basically stopped going to the sorority, and Buffy actually stopped going to the sorority too, and we got kicked out. We got, a fine of $1,500 for not showing up, because if you were late to a meeting, it was a $5 fine. If you were 10 minutes late, it's $10, $15.
No.
So I racked up a bill, and they
And
finally,
then you didn't pay it and then they went to collections.
no, thankfully they didn't go to collections, but I got kicked out.
So for me, sororities were such a far off thing that I saw them in the 80s in the movies. That's kind of what I thought sororities were.
I never thought I was a sorority person, just to get that out there in the thing. I wasn't a sorority person.
I thought I would be better in a fraternity because I'm such a
Mhm.
go out and impulsive thing. And I didn't think I could function in a group of women who kind of had it together. They had their looks together.
Wait, they didn't
They
have
had
it together.
planners. To me, it looked like a
Right.
cohesive group that worked together. And I just didn't think that was a place for me or that there was a place for me to be in there. I thought it'd be just too hard and that they would see right through me. I'd be this imposter,
Mhm.
who
Totally. I felt that way. I felt that way for sure.
I
It
just
was
didn't
so
even
weird.
try.
It wasn't.
I
It
just
was,
didn't think I could get in. I couldn't get in. I didn't think I could.
and it's like it's so shitty to try to get in. But whatever. I digress.
But that part of that is that low self-esteem I had through all the self-hate and negative feelings and negative self-talk for the little failings I constantly experienced because I was so reactive and out of control
Right.
and seeking to kind of fill that dopamine need.
Crazy.
I get so bored so quick.
Hmm.
And then, I brought to this ADHD table some of that lovely trauma of, not having had a father
Right.
in relationships to kind of see what that looks like, what a normative relationship can be.
Mhm.
So for me, a normal relationship is, the guy leaves.
Right.
And so I try to leave before the guy left.
I mean, it makes so much sense, honestly.
I wanted all the attention
Mhm.
from males, but I also wanted to be with someone who ignored me.
Isn't that fucked up?
It's so fucked up. I had no idea, right? Like this is
None.
all
No
under the
clue.
surface. Didn't know the reasoning behind my behaviors at all. And so what it looked like is I'd get interested in someone who first showed some interest. Maybe they just looked at me or something, talked to me. That was
Mhm.
enough.
Mhm.
And then I'd get massively hyper focused on that individual. And that's definitely that ADHD trait. And I would think about them, I'd obsess about them. Any movie I saw that had some kind of romance in it, I'd imagine in my head that that's what would happen, or that's the
Mhm.
high I was feeling,
So good,
which
right?
was completely not reality.
Never, never.
And those would influence me to seek more. And then I would completely change who I was to mold into what
Mhm.
I thought that individual would
Mhm.
like. So if they were into building cars, I'd learn to build cars or whatever it was. But-
And for you, all you had to do was read one line and you knew how to rebuild a car because you have a photographic memory. And that's what makes me even crazier because you can remember you have the most amazing memory in that I've ever seen.
Thank you. I appreciate that. But that's also a super
Yes.
ADHD
Yes.
thing
Yes, it is.
if I'm hyper focused on it. If I want to remember because I'm interested, I will remember the page and everything. But if I'm trying to like study and I'm not interested in the thing,
Hmm. Oh yeah, totally
God
get
save
it.
me, I will
No,
not remember.
of
Like I
course.
will read pages and pages and have no idea what I just read.
Hmm.
Zero. I don't,
But if you were doing it to get a guy,
or if I'm just interested in the
right?
craft or whatever.
Right.
Oh, every
You're
word,
you're
every
fucking brilliant. Yeah.
single. Oh, thank you, brilliant. So
No.
then this transformation would occur, right? I would become the Cinderella or whatever to get the prince, and they would be this really intense, high feeling of that engagement of the relationship, and I thought that was love,
Hmm. God, so crazy.
and then it fades, right? Because you're biologically,
Hmm.
my brain is seeking dopamine, but it needs difference for it to be able to pick up that dopamine. And once something is consistent and the same, it no longer receives that reward mechanism.
Hmm.
And then the dopamine drops off. And I'm seeing this as the fading of love or fading of interest rather than my brain responding
Mm.
to this leveling off to this normal level, which is
Correct.
very low for me, right?
Hmm.
And then there was this also counterpart to it where I really was driving all my relationships because I am the outgoing and the push and the go, let's go do this. This will be fun. And it would be fun. It'd be great. Right.
Right.
But then when I stopped doing those things because I'm leveling off with the dopamine, I would be thinking that they're not interested anymore either because
Hmm.
they're not doing all these things.
Hmm.
And sometimes I would pick people who didn't do anything and I would just do all the relationship work. And then sometimes there'd be great people that I would think they're not doing anything.
And still get out of it.
Yeah, because I wasn't recognizing what my role, what my part was in it. I couldn't see it. And I would end it, right? It's over. And then I'd go to the next thing because I would get excited about it.
Hmm.
And
Isn't that weird? I've only had two relationships in my life. So I've felt that feeling for sure twice. And then I think maybe once
like
more.
twice a day,
No,
twice an
twice in
hour.
my life. Like twice in my life. And I did feel it again but I didn't date that person, but I really like had the feels for them, I guess. So I haven't had that feeling a lot. I just haven't. It's just not something I'm okay with it too because it's an exhausting feeling.
Oh,
But my first relationship was so guarded and so based on keeping that person happy 24/7.
yes. There's definitely
And it
this
and it lasted,
facade, right?
right, it's such a facade and I wanted to make him happy
Hmm.
24/7.
Yeah.
that he literally had to
I
like,
did this.
right.
You
And
know,
we lived together and and all of this. And he literally had to go and, like cheat on me to get out of the relationship.
but could you maintain that level of doing things for them? Like whatever you were doing to make them happy, you could maintain that for a long period.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, I
And
couldn't.
he just got, I mean, he was his own issue.
Did he have ADHD?
Yeah. He was his own issue and he had his own issues. Me, I can see why he did what he did. I
Mm-hmm.
was literally like so accommodating, but that's how I was raised, to be accommodating. And if anything went wrong, you'd get this fear that they were going to leave and you did whatever you could to make them stay.
So in your relationship, let's talk about some hallmarks of ADHD. For example, attention and memory, like remembering important dates, remembering special things.
Always
You are good with
on
that?
top of it,
Mm-hmm.
before it,
Mm-hmm.
everything was done. Celebrations were thought out, planned way ahead of time.
Yes. So for me, same. And I'm also hyper vigilant in terms of observation and things. So I'm like noticing everything. So for me, that wasn't that big of a deal. I think sometimes with men, that attention when they have ADHD, remembering things
Mm-hmm.
and planning for those things can be a really big problem.
Mm-hmm.
But I think, I mean, I'm overgeneralizing, and this is just my thoughts based on very small experiences. We tend to overcompensate for that by over planning to make sure that we don't,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because how's that going to make me look, right?
I always just, for some reason, and I don't remember birthdays in my childhood or anything, but I always, at least for my immediate family, be it my husband and my daughter, make a celebration for them
Mhm.
all the time for special occasions. Whether or not they do that for me, I sometimes. But for
Um,
me, I always want to make a celebration. I can't help it. I want to,
yeah, that's a wonderful thing, Kelly.
but I'm really bad with cards
Yeah, I'll buy them like 4 months ahead of time, forget where I put them, and then I have to buy like new ones.
because you forgot where you put them.
Or I didn't, and I'm buying it like on the way to the thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I always say like, oh, I'm gonna have like a stock of like 5 cards, and then I'll just be able to pull it out and write a
And I
happy
never
birthday.
do.
No, no, but I did find like a giant box of thank you cards, like 800 thank you cards when I was cleaning out my space. I'm like, I don't even send thank you cards. I think that's like the wannabe Martha Stewart in me. Like,
Yeah, I
oh,
never send thank you
I'm
cards.
going to send thank you cards for all these kind of, what?
No,
I just threw them out. I'm just not doing that anymore.
no, not going to do
Who
it.
send cards. And then did impulsivity play a role in your relationships?
I would do things to please people when I didn't want to do them.
Mm-hmm.
So I did a lot of things that I didn't want to do. Is that impulsive?
Um, I mean, I guess it depends on what drove that decision. Was it anxiety of losing them?
Yes.
Right. So that might be from a different space. Whereas I was impulsive in that I'd make these split decisions to all of a sudden go see them and knock on their door, like
Never did that.
surprise,
No.
or not think about the consequence of actions in the relationship, move too fast, really impulsive, right? Super fast onset, and not really give the relationship time to build to see if it is something that can be sustained with like a friendship added on, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's that impulsivity, and then impulsive in, impulsive out. Even the day, everything is just nothing's planned. It's all impulsive.
Right. No, and I see that. I see that. I'm definitely more impulsive when I'm alone, if that makes sense.
How interesting.
You know what I mean? I'm not, but I can't say that because I used to go out and party all the time. You know what I mean? We would just say, hey, let's go. And
Yeah, well,
And
that's just
then
the
the next thing
20s.
you know, it's,
Yeah,
yeah,
the
that's
20s
true.
is, hey, let's go. And in the 30s, so where are we going?
No.
In the 40s, I don't know if I want to
No,
go.
I'm not. In 50s, yeah, I'm not going.
What about like time management in relationships?
Well, this girl right here, and I'm pointing to me. I have no problems with time management.
In my head, I will respond to texts, and I never
Oh,
do
that I do a lot now.
because I don't
Uh-huh.
see the time between reading the text and
And not having time to respond then, but
right,
in your head you did.
and then I'm distracted by something else, and then
Uh-huh.
I'm like, oh no. And if it's been too long,
Uh-huh.
now I have to pretend that I didn't get a
Texting
text.
sucks. Texting sucks balls.
I mean, the friends who get me, hopefully.
I get it. And I hope all my friends get it too, because man, texting is hard.
It is. I'm either like texting 300 things,
Uh-huh.
boom, 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 or I just don't respond because maybe
Uh-huh.
I'm not even like in that headspace to like
Uh-huh.
be with a friend.
Yes.
I don't like phone calls.
Hate phone calls.
Hate phone calls. I'd rather come and talk to you in person.
Agreed.
And being like with people who like the phone, who like talking on the phone is just so
I
exhausting.
hate talking on the phone. My mom wants to talk all the time,
Can't
and
do
I'm
it.
so bad at it. I'm
can't.
so bad at it. I just hate it.
I don't know how people can be like on the phone
Like it.
a lot, like all day. I don't understand that.
It's not my thing. What about one of the things that I definitely noticed once I was diagnosed was mood swings.
Right. So
And I am my whole life I have been one way, and that is if you say anything wrong to me,
what way are you, Kelly?
well, for 30 years I was this way. If you say like the wrong thing to me, I will literally burst into tears.
Yeah. So there's like
Literally burst into tears.
there's a thing called, I think it's like rejection fear, something
Yes.
that ADHD has, where you take criticism, no matter how minute, and it's enormous. You're crushed. You feel like the world has ended.
I mean, cry my eyes out, and I couldn't control it. And back then people saw that as weak.
And it's also like that part that forces you to try to like look your best,
Uh-huh.
talk your best,
Uh-huh.
present your best self, which
Uh-huh.
isn't you at all. It's what you think that other person wants to see or hear, whether that's with friends or relationships or family members, right? You're presenting. So that's called masking.
Boy, oh boy.
A lot of masking, and which is exhausting. And that can lead to emotional dysregulation too, because you're constantly trying to ignore all those feelings you're having, pushing them aside because you can't express them.
Nope.
And you can't be seen to experience them. So that underlier creates those chemicals are still real. Your feelings are still real. You're just not giving them a space to be acknowledged. And then you become dysregulated, right?
And it's so weird for me to see how people are so strong. To me, it seemed like they were so strong. How do they not fall apart when something happens? It was such a I had no clue.
Yeah, I used to cry really, really easily. And I'd be just so impressed with people who could hold it and who just didn't cry at things. And I don't know if it's because I perceive things to be so much bigger. And I think that that's part of that emotional dysregulation with ADHD is you're perceiving things to be bigger than they are. So you have this really large release of stress hormones, cortisone, adrenaline. Your amygdala's on. You've got anxiety going.
Damn amygdala.
Amygdala? Yes.
Amygdala. Damn amygdala.
Your amygdala.
Whatever.
A ginormous.
I'm a ginormous.
My
amygdala.
And so you have all these things coursing through your system, which then is your fight or flight, right? And you can't flight, and you can't fight because you're with friends. Want to go?
So you cry,
and then you stuff it, cry, you burst out, right? So people have different ways of dealing with that dysregulation. And the more, that system is underdeveloped or just developed in a particular way, it can't handle that max, the more you're going to have this big reaction. And that can cause either you to explode or for you to avoid these kind of potential situations altogether.
Yeah. I would cry. And I'd just be perceived as this girl who cried all the time.
Yeah, I cried a lot. Or I would just be dead faced. Like I'd stuff it deep.
I can't be dead faced, unfortunately. My face doesn't do that.
And then that would be disassociative, right? Because I'm feeling all these huge emotions.
Right.
But I'm stuffing them down so I can't experience them. So now I can't be in my body either. So I would disassociate from the moment. And I really recall having several instances where it felt out of body. Like I was observing someone else having a fight. Like if someone's yelling at me and coming at me, I would definitely go into the space that would be so disconnected as a coping mechanism to feel safe or to, I don't think I could even process anything in the moment.
No.
And that was a practice I got really used to using as a coping mechanism. And I think resolving that, being able to kind of recognize my feelings and voicing them and not being afraid to say if I felt hurt or things like that, because I would think like they'd leave if I tell them I was hurt.
Communication is very difficult for, I think, somebody with ADHD. And very hard.
Part of it is because you're not recognizing what's going on inside you.
Well, you don't know what the heck is going on inside you. You don't know what that is.
No, and you think you're so weird.
Right? Like, why is my body
quote
feeling
unquote
like
normal? This? And that what you perceive that normal people do, which you're not, because that's what you're thinking. You just don't even know what to do, what to say, and everything feels wrong. And then it comes out and it is wrong. And
most of the time, yeah.
And I guess, being with a person who can give you that safe space to allow you to experience those things and to let it out and not necessarily feel that it's coming at them. Right.
I never learned that as a child. That's not how my family was.
No.
And I can definitely see in the relationship that I had in college, that's exactly, there was no communication because of the fear if I said something, they would leave.
Yeah. And those little white lies when you say you're fine become really big lies to yourself and to the other. And then there's no honesty in that relationship anymore because you kind of have to maintain that now.
Right.
Yeah, that was great.
It's all gone.
The sex was great. Yes, of course you're awesome. And then you're stuck with this person who's just really not good for you. But now you don't know how to get out because if it's great, why are you getting out?
Right.
And
then they had to go and cheat on me to get out of the relationship.
Well, that was me. I couldn't transition out of relationships. I didn't know how. Like I'd never seen it.
And I'd never seen it either.
The guy leaves. But if the guy's not leaving, how do you get him to leave?
Right.
You just act horribly. And then you're like, see, they do leave. Right? You totally justify that cycle to yourself. So there was a lot of come to Jesus for me in terms of recognizing
big time
my behaviors, my patterns, the traumas that caused those behaviors. And then, of course, once the ADHD was diagnosed and I could really take a look at these executive function components and one, forgive myself for those behaviors, and two, enter a relationship with someone who I can work through these things with in a safe space, do therapy for this, and grow from this. I think I'm in a really good place in my life.
Yeah.
Right? Like for the first time, really am. And maintaining a long-term relationship for me had always been so difficult. And now it seems like this is this is it. This is the right way to do it.
Right. The communicate, like for me and my husband, even just this weekend, we had a little moment and he kind of lashed out for a minute and I just kind of looked at him and shut down because he's having his moment.
Mm-hmm.
And then we stopped and then we came inside and he apologized and told me why he lashed out. And then I actually understood why he lashed out. So I could say, I can totally understand where you're coming from. I hear you. I understand what that is. And it was like, there's no fighting.
Yeah.
He was having a moment. He needed his moment. He needed to express his moment. And it actually helped me and popped me back into more of a clear and present space for him. I would never have done that before.
Yeah. I have these like intrusive thoughts sometimes and they're quite impulsive and then they'll come outside my body. I'll say it.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think about the hurtfulness or whether that's even a processed thought. Like it might not even
Right.
be like a real thing.
Right.
And then I'm hurting that individual's feelings. So I really have to kind of monitor more my output, which I never
Right.
used to.
Think about your output and make sure it's coming from a safe space, not a fight or flight space.
Not even that, just this random thought
Right.
that is not even a real thought. I don't think you're whatever, but I said that because it just popped out of my mouth. Completely just random squirrel nuts, whatever. It just comes out. And
I definitely don't do
I
that.
have to be really cautious with, not allowing something that's just this random feed come out.
I don't have that problem.
Oh, and I used to cut off people talking
Well, I cut
so much. No, it was
I cut people off all the
so
time.
bad.
But now I know it's because I'm not going to remember the thought. And if I don't get it out
Rush.
now, I'm going to forget it.
But I have to be careful because they're impulsive thoughts and there might not be a reality. They're just something that courses through me. So that's something I worked really hard on for like 2-3 years because professionally, you can't cut people off all the time. That's really rude.
Right. But don't you find it's easier in a professional than with your friends? Like,
No, because I want to
see.
contribute. I want to get those thoughts out that are coming in because I have read so many things and
Right.
I want to like share them and make it better. Right.
Yeah. No, I get that. But yeah, I get that.
It's a process, Kelly.
My God, it is such a process. It is such a process. But
Yeah.
I think what's so great
That's why we're here.
Right. What's so great about the process is learning all this fantastic stuff. So I'm 51 and I'm going to make the second half of my life be really productive and less, well, I'm going to try to be, use these tools that we're going to talk about every week and get to know what's going on with our bodies and cues and signals and flags and all that kind of stuff. And that's going to just help us and hopefully it'll help everybody else too, to just start to recognize these things about ourselves and that we're not really bad people.
No. So the takeaways I think for me have been that recognizing your patterns and motivations for doing things and understanding that my brain is seeking. It needs a level of dopamine that I'm unable to reuptake or manufacture, which medication does help with, but that's not an answer.
It's not the answer, but good God.
It helps a lot, but I have to also cognitively and behaviorally put in mechanisms in place should I not have access to medication.
Correct.
Understand that there's other ways to fill that dopamine need. And that could be a walk in nature, petting a cat. It could be doing a favorite craft or or being with someone who is a known safe person to operate with so that I'm not seeking the new necessarily.
Exactly.
I'm getting
a good partner.
Yeah, a good partner, good friendships, whatever that is. But you have to find out what those things are for you that can help you achieve those states of regulation.
Right.
And that's a big takeaway. And then really understanding that you can't just, roll through people's lives and not expect that you might hurt them or that there's consequences to these things because you're not planning anything inside your head. So while you can't plan for everything,
Right.
you can certainly help inhibit yourself from acting in the moment. Just take a second,
Take a beat.
count to 5,
Uh-huh.
and think about what you're doing and putting something in place for yourself to understand that if you want to do something, maybe talk about it a little bit and see if that helps you figure out whether you really need to do that thing.
Exactly.
It's, yeah, definitely big growth areas.
Agreed. Huge. And we can dive into it more later.
Yeah, this is not a one episode thing.
No,
And I I
absolutely
really
not.
look forward to hearing other people's stories and looking at how people manage relationships and what are some of the obstacles and how we can put things in place.
Let's put a call out there. Let
Yeah.
us know to, send us your craziest relationship story. Put it into a one-liner and let us figure out what the heck happened.
When you became a big rig trucker just to impress that guy.
Right. Let's tell us
Or
what are
gal,
the craziest
or,
things you've ever done.
them, they, whoever you were trying to impress.
Uh-huh.
Because
And put it on our Instagram. Put all your funny stories on our Instagram, WTH_ADHD.
Mhm.
And we would love to hear it.
We would love to hear it so that we don't feel so, no, we'd love to hear it because this is how we can, I think.
Everybody realizes we're all the same.
We're all okay.
So send us your stories. Thank you for listening to us. And this has been WTH ADHD with
Sure has.
Kelly and Letty. And we will see you next time.
Bye.
Bye. This has been a Hi It's Me ADHD production.